Good morning. I'm Sheriff Paula Dance, Pitt County Sheriff Office. Thank you all for attending this press conference regarding this very tragic set of murders. The murders of three of our Pitt County citizens that happened on Friday. As with all major cases, not all known information can be released at this time so as to not jeopardize the integrity of the ongoing case and the eventual prosecution. However, with the magnitude of these events and in the best interest of informing our citizens and our community, I wanted to offer a timeline and to be released at this time. First, let me offer my condolences to the families and friends of all the victims that were involved in this senseless act of violence. To begin, we know, this is what we know at this time, that at 1:20, evidence shows that the victim, Enrique Reyes, made a purchase from the food line on Stantonsburg Road, and this was at 1:20 p.m. It is believed that he returned to his residence located at 1458 Forest Acres Drive shortly after that time. David Lever, at this time, is seen coming and going from his residence located at 1521 Forest Acres Drive over the next few minutes. And this was captured by nearby camera systems in the neighborhood. At this time, there is no known relationship between Enrique Reyes and David Lever. At 1:28, David Lever leaves his residence driving his light-colored Sprinter van. At 1:41, David Lever arrives at the Speedway, and this is also captured by video footage. The Speedway is located at 3579 NC 43 North, and it appears that he puts fuel into his van. At 1:44 p.m., David Lever leaves the Speedway in his Sprinter van, firing shots from the van as he left. He was traveling north on Highway 43 in the direction of Peace Ridge Court. At 1:45 p.m., Pitt County Sheriff's Office receives a call from a concerned citizen reporting having seen a subject firing shots from a van at the Speedway. Within the timeline between the last event and the next, the exact time is not currently known. The suspect approached a previously unreleased home on Peace Ridge Court and attempted to make contact with the residents there. But by the time the resident of the home answered the door, the suspect was backing out of the driveway to leave. The residents got a look at the suspect and did not recognize him. However, no contact was made with these residents. At 2:17 p.m., Pitt County Sheriff's Office received a call in reference to a caller's parents having been murdered by David Lever at the residence at 2137 Peace Ridge Court. Deputies arrived to find Anthony and Paula Gribble dead from multiple gunshot wounds. At this time, David Lever was being held at gunpoint by the son of Anthony and Paula. David Lever was promptly taken into custody at this time by our officers. At 2:50 p.m., deputies responded to a call in reference to a breaking and entering of a residence at 1259 Forest Acres Drive. It was found that the residence had been actually shot into with a firearm while the residence was unoccupied. We have reason to believe that Mr. Lever was the perpetrator of this crime as well. It is unknown at this time if there is a relationship. At 3:35 p.m., EMS is dispatched to 1458 Forest Acres Drive after a passerby noticed a male lying in the driveway who was found to be deceased. Deputies were already staging at David Lever's residence on Forest Acres Drive and immediately made their way to this location. Enrique Reyes was found lying in his driveway dead from multiple gunshot wounds. Multiple search warrants were served over the course of the evening, with one such search warrant having been for David Lever's residence. A large number of firearms were found at that residence, along with ammunition. Lever's Sprinter van was at Peace Ridge Court crime scene and was found to contain a large number of loaded handguns and rifles, along with additional ammunition and loaded magazines. The times provided for this timeline are believed to be accurate, and attempts to confirm specifics are ongoing as a part of this investigation. In closing, the investigation of these cases lead us to believe that there would have been additional victims had a family member of the victims not intervened until our deputies were able to arrive. No community is immune to tragic acts of violence such as these. However, through the previously mentioned actions of civilians and deputies, we were spared further tragedies as a part of this expanding series of crimes. At this time, I'll open the floor for questions.
Sheriff, can you speak to the demeanor of Mr. Lever? What is his mental state, his condition, I guess?
I cannot speak to the mental state. That's out of my wheelhouse. I can say that these were very egregious acts. We will leave that up to the courts and the judicial system and the professionals to give us an understanding of where he is mentally.
Sure. Can you speak as to the connection between the victims?
I can't hear you.
Can you speak as to the connection between the victims?
With Enriquez?
But is there a connection between the victims?
At this time, that is unknown. We are still investigating this case. As you can see, there were 5 to 6 different locations that is involved in this case at this time. And so our deputies and investigators are still out investigating all of those leads to run down what, if any, connections there may be.
Sheriff, was Lever compliant when he was apprehended?
Yes.
Sheriff, I've heard from some sources that Lever was involved with drugs. Can you speak to that?
We are still investigating that information.
Sheriff, timeline-wise, Enrique Reyes was shot first.
It appears that he was shot first.
Sheriff, you mentioned there were additional charges possibly forthcoming. Can you speak to the process of that? Is the discussion with the DA right now, or what's going on with that?
Yes, we have conferred with the DA yesterday afternoon. The DA's office was brought in to be updated on all the information that we currently have. We will work in conjunction with the District Attorney's Office for any future charges.
Sheriff, have you had any trouble with David Lever before?
My recollection is that we have been involved with Mr. Lever. I cannot tell you what that was. I believe it's domestic related. But other than that, I don't have that information available. Any other questions?
Sheriff, do you know if there was any motive with shooting the elderly couple? I know he was a realtor in town. Did he possibly sell them their house, or do you know why he targeted them?
We are still investigating at this time. I don't have that information.
Was the weapon he used in the shootings recovered? I know you mentioned there were multiple handguns recovered in his vehicle and weapons found at his house, but was the actual weapon used in these shootings recovered?
We believe that we have recovered the weapons that were used in these shootings. We still are investigating and have some other work to do to confirm that information.
And when you say a large number of weapons at the home and multiple weapons in the vehicle, can you clarify it all? Can you quantify that in any way?
I believe that there was rifles, handguns. There were some firearms also attempted to be removed from the deceased couple's home. But I would say at least 50 firearms, if I'm not mistaken, inside of the residence of the suspect. There were a lot of firearms inside of the residence of the deceased. There were a lot of firearms that were found inside of the Sprinter van that the suspect was using at the time. So yes, there were a lot of weaponry that was involved in this case.
And have those been seized, or what's the process on the
Yes,
firearms?
we are in possession of all of those weapons at this time.
And are there any next steps that you can speak to at this point in the investigation and in this entire process?
There are a lot of next steps. There's a lot of investigating to continue. This is, again, this was a moving crime scene. Our officers, again, were first alerted by gunshot wounds or gunshots in the area. We were in the area, and it was rapidly moving. Crime scenes were adding on, and as you can imagine, we had to do things like go through the community to make sure people were okay on the Forest Acres Drive area, in the Peace Court area. It's a lot of moving parts here, and we certainly expect that this will be an investigation that continues for quite some time.
Sheriff, we've heard that the elderly couple that was killed had called their son about Lever being at the home before. Do you know any information about that?
I believe there was some information that there was some communication with one of I believe the wife of the decedent, that the wife may have reached out to the son. Again, that is, I certainly don't want to share what that communication was at this time, but certainly it's evident that something alerted the son to come by the resident.
Sheriff, could you speak to whether or not you expect the Sheriff's Office to remain the lead investigative agency on this crime?
Yes, sir. If I may I ask who you're with?
I'm sorry?
Who are you with?
I'm just a citizen.
Yes, sir. The Sheriff's Office is fully equipped to continue to maintain this case. There may be some resources that we may reach out to fill in the gaps of things that we may not, but certainly we will continue to be the lead.
Have any other partners been, like SBI, anybody like that, been notified at this point?
Pitt County Sheriff's Office is very self-sufficient in being able to handle murder cases. If you will recall, we had the triple homicide in Farmville some years ago. So we are certainly fully able to investigate this case and see it through. If there comes a time that we may need to reach out to the SBI or the FBI, we certainly will do that. If there are no further questions, I will conclude at this time. Thank you.